Hi loves, happy Tuesday, hope you're well. I'm back on YouTube this week, so apologies, I think I've been gone for about 3 weeks, but I'm finally back to filming, and just before I turned the camera on, in classic me fashion, spilt my water all down me. I've literally got drops of water all down my trousers, but it'll dry as the episode goes on. Obviously I didn't wait for it to dry before I started to film, so I was like, do you know what, this is me, we're very accepting you, we don't judge. And yeah, I feel like every single day, once a day without fail, I will spill my drink. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I wouldn't even say I'm a clumsy person, but with drinks, for some reason, I'm not lying when I tell you I spill one a day. Anyway, I'm back on YouTube, so if you are watching, then please remember to subscribe. It's a massive help for me, and yeah, helps the podcast get out. Yeah, I think I checked earlier and my last video was 3 weeks ago, but you know, it's been Christmas and stuff now, so I'm finally back in the January mode and I'm ready. So yeah, please subscribe guys if you're watching on there. Right, okay, I'm coming in straight away this week with a story. I haven't actually read it beforehand, but I saw the subject, which is men are dogs. With a peace sign. So yeah, let's go straight into this week's story. Hi Sadie, I love your channel so much and wanted to share my story. I met Tom in August of last year and we hit it off immediately. Going straight in with the name there. She hasn't said like Tom in inverted commas, so I feel like this might be his real name. So Tom, look out. I feel like you must have done something bad for her to not even hide your name. She's out for blood. Okay, sorry, let me start again. I met Tom in August of last year and we hit it off immediately. He seemed to love all the same things as me and almost immediately wanted to spend all of his time with me. I see that as a bit of a red flag, but let's keep going. This was a bit overbearing initially, but I am a teacher and was on summer break at the time, so had a lot of free time. Okay, fair. We got to know each other, going out for drinks and playing board games in the garden. That sounds really cute. I love a board game. He was keen to meet my friends, and 2 months in, my family too. He said his main goal in life was to be a dad, and even though I don't know if I want children, this gave me confidence that he probably was a nice person. He told me he'd been married before and got very depressed after his divorce, and that he had acted as a father to his ex-wife's son for 10 years. She had even had her son's last name changed to Tom's last name. He told me that when she divorced him, she blocked him and never let him see the child again, which I just couldn't understand. However, now I do. Okay, I'm going to recap that I do think if somebody wants to spend all their time with you straight away, it's a bit of a red flag. But I do think when you read all the rest of it and you wanted to meet your friends and family, I think you would overlook it all. And sometimes, when you meet somebody and it's very exciting, it is very hard to not want to spend all your time with them, especially like if she's on her summer break and stuff. I think it's very easily done. So apart from the initial red flag, Tom sounds like a lovely guy. Very upfront about his marriage and his, depression after the divorce. All okay. I'm just waiting for the penny to drop. 2 months in, we were saying we loved each other, and he was saying he'd never felt like this before. And she puts in brackets, I know I'm stupid. I'm sorry, I don't think you are. If somebody told me, which they have, that they've never felt like this before, I believe it. I'm like, obviously you haven't, because you're with me now. And this is obviously better than what you've had before. Like, what does that say about me? I would believe that. Because also, I think every relationship is different anyway. And if you've had a bad past relationship, then it's natural to feel like I haven't felt like this before. And especially when you're feeling so excited and so happy and loved up when you met somebody. I think that's fair enough, and I don't think you're stupid for believing it. And I don't know if I've ever told a guy that, but I've definitely felt it. So I think valid. He was quite closed off about his past life though, and looking through his social media pics, he seemed to have a string of girlfriends in quick succession. Okay, that is a red flag. I noticed over time that Tom's drinking wasn't just a social thing, and he would often drink 2 bottles of red wine and almost half a bottle of vodka a night. Oh my God, no, that's too much. There were a few times I went to bed by myself at night because he wanted to stay up drinking, and it left me feeling quite rejected. This would also mean he would sleep in until almost midday most days, and I would wake up in the morning to find my house covered in booze bottles, spilt booze, and drunken snacks spilt all over the carpet. Now, see, that is where I would have to draw the line. The drinking, I would be like, this is really bad, you know, need to sort yourself out. But for me to wake up to snacks like trodden into the carpet the next day, that would tip me over the edge. I would be like, Tom, mate, by all means have a snack. We all know I love a drunken snack, lest we forget pre-Christmas that sausage roll that I set on fire in my microwave. But you got to clean up after yourself, except you don't after a drink. That morning when I woke up, right? I've said on one of the podcasts, but basically I went out and I got really drunk. Cue me still not drinking in January properly, by the way. This is why. Because I went home, basically put a sausage roll in the microwave and the sauce packet was in it. And when I tell you I set on fire, like they were full flames and there was ash everywhere. But when I woke up the next morning, I sat down and put my laptop down, and I also realised there was a big lump of brown sauce. I don't even like brown sauce, and I can't even remember the last time I had it before this, right? I don't enjoy it, but in my drunken state, I'd obviously thought, wow, I really fancy brown sauce with a sausage roll, and I must have squirted in, missed the plate, because it was just on my table, like a big dollop of brown sauce. And it's fine because I woke up early the next day. I woke up at like 7 a.m. and I cleaned it. But if my boyfriend had done that repeatedly, like every day, and I woke up and saw that, that's not okay. And I would also feel guilty if somebody else had to clean that up for me. So yeah, that's not good. Wow, went on a bit of a tangent there. Sorry. Quick recap. They're happy and in love. He's got a drinking problem and also a past of girlfriends in quick succession. So out of one relationship into another, which is never a good thing. Going to go off on another mini tangent. I do feel like that is something I've realised with age that I used to do. Not necessarily relationships, but like I feel like I was never really single for that long amount of time when I was younger, when I first moved to London. And then I think I've definitely said this story before, like after my last relationship ended in lockdown, I had like 9 months of not talking to anyone for the first time in my life. Like obviously it was lockdown and I was back in Wales, so I was like, there's no point me speaking to anyone because I can't go meet up with them and I'm not going to date anyone from Wales. It's just my absolute rule, and I don't know why, because the Welsh are the best, but I just can't handle having another Welsh boyfriend. But that was like the best thing for me, and I really realised after that how important it is to make sure that you get over a relationship and deal with stuff before you get into the next one. So yeah, that's a big thing that I think comes with age, or at least for me anyway. Okay, sorry, you're going back in. I wanted to talk to him about the drinking, but it took me ages as I didn't want to cause upset. Once I did, he became very critical of me, and after I explained calmly that he was upsetting me and I was just asking if he could pick up after himself, he went and laid in bed and wouldn't speak, and I had to call and cancel out dinner reservations. No, that's not okay. I listened to, was there a podcast or a book? Must have been a podcast the other day that said, I think it was the Love Expert one of Stephen Bartlett again, but he said that the way people treat you in an argument is a real strong indicator of the type of person they are. So if your partner or your friend, wherever, is really mean to you in an argument, that's a big sign that they are actually quite a mean person, or they've got that like tendency in them. Whereas if somebody can listen to you, hear what you're saying, respect, answer calmly, you know, have a bit more of a discussion, then that's obviously a really good sign. So this is a big red flag. Also, cancel the dinner reservations. Is it worth it, Tom? Is it worth cancelling the dinner reservations because you can't be told to pick up after yourself? Do you know what I think that is? I think that is when you know you've done something wrong and you feel shame for it, you can't handle talking about it. And I think that's probably what he was going through. Not that I'm sticking up for him, obviously. He has still never taken me out for dinner. What? So what did you used to do when you first started dating? His drinking continued and probably worsened, and he began leaving stuff all over the house. I tried to remedy the situation by clearing out a wardrobe for his clothes and a drawer, but still there was dirty socks and pants on the mantelpiece. Alright, Tom, what were you getting up to after that bottle of vodka got finished off? A little bit of a striptease? There were socks and pants on the mantelpiece and sofa, and vape juice bottles and booze bottles all over the house every day. I'm keen to know how old Tom is here, because it's giving a student. He also began bringing his washing for me to do. Oh my God, they weren't even living together. No. What? He also began bringing his washing for me to do from his flat, and would also cook food just for himself at my house, then ask me what's for tea. Wait, I have to backtrack. So Tom isn't actually moved in, but he comes over and drinks in your house and leaves his shit everywhere and then goes back to his clean flat to sort himself out. That is so not okay. And also, what's the point? If he's not even staying with you anyway, and like if you said you're going to bed early and stuff, what's the point? If you're going to drink alone, you might as well drink in your own place, no? Weird situation. Also, imagine cooking food for yourself, eating it, and then asking your partner what's for tea. You know, like last week I was on about the supermarket thing. Like, food is such a touchy thing. Do you see that quote I shared on the Love What Like Insta? Yeah, last week. I can't remember what day it was. It said something like, the hottest thing you can do is ask what's for dinner. And like bring food from the shops. Like, food is the way to people's hearts. Imagine your boyfriend cooking food for himself, not offering you anything, and then asking you what's for tea and expecting you to cook for him. I'm sorry, the cooking the food and not offering any to me, that actually hurts me. That actually hurts my feelings. That's the same as like somebody sitting down to me with a big juicy packet of crisps or sweets and not offering one. Because I would never. I'm the type of person, when I eat something, if somebody says it's nice, I'm like, yeah, do you want some? Do you want to try it? This is lovely. Do you want some? Because I'm like, you experience it as well. It's like the rat in Ratatouille, you know? Like, if food is good, you have to share it. I'm big on food sharing. Also probably because I like to pick at other people's food. Probably super annoying for some people. But come on, you don't cook for yourself and not your partner when you're in their house. That's just rude. He told me he had struggled with depression before, so I tried to be understanding as I have anxiety, and I shared with him that once I had gotten so bad I couldn't leave the house. He then started using this against me every time I had work to do, saying I was too anxious to go out, when in reality I hadn't invited him over in the first place. This went on and got worse over time, so I tried to speak to him again about the state of my house, as when I returned to work I had to get up early to clean the mess from his booze-fueled nights. I couldn't understand how he was still not back at work and just drinking all day at home whilst I worked. He had 2 weeks holiday but had been off work for ages. Something wasn't adding up. Yeah, this is why I asked his age, because it's given student, because you can't act like that if you're working a full-time job. He also damaged a wall in my house during a drunken accident and damaged my oven by accident, but was enraged when I spoke calmly about how I was feeling. He told me I was a pain in the arse and said he was leaving. Oh, well, goodbye, Tom. Please do leave. I'm sorry. Except I'm not sorry at all. Like, please leave and take your pants off the mantelpiece with you dick. He said, how dare I have the audacity to question him. He packed up and stormed out, and I said nothing. I couldn't believe it and thought I'd let him cool off and wait for an apology. 2 days later, oh no, my best friend saw him on a dating app and sent me a screenshot of his profile. Right, can I just say, that is super hurtful, but that hits the nail on the head where he doesn't heal and he goes from relationship to relationship to relationship, and he will act like this with every single person because obviously the problem is him. He's got a massive drinking problem, massive mental health issues, used to have depression, and rather than sitting and dealing with it, he's just finding women to go and distract him and then eventually be a dick to because he's not happy in himself. But I do think this is a red flag if you go on a date with somebody and you say, when's your last relationship? And they say 2 weeks ago. Gotta tread carefully there and don't expect anything serious. I asked him about the dating profile, and he said he did it when angry and would delete it. I saw my friends that weekend and told them that he deleted it and made a silly mistake. I was then shown his profile again in front of a group and felt stupid. I hate that. And no tea, no shade to your friends. I suppose if it's your friends and it's your whole group of friends, then it's fine. But I think that's so much worse being shown it like in a group situation like that, not messaged about it privately. I confronted him and he told me we wouldn't work because I have nothing good to say, and he blocked me. He repeatedly blocked and unblocked me and would threaten to kill himself when I wouldn't talk to him. My friend suggested we Google his work reference numbers. He is an operations department manager for the RAF. We did this and I found out he'd actually been suspended from his job since before he met me. I always find it really interesting how people think they can get away with lying about work. It's actually so common. I feel like we've had a few stories about it, and I see them online and on films when people lie and say they've got jobs and stuff and they're not in work because eventually you're going to get found out. I just can't imagine having to lie about going to work every day to your partner or you see every day, and you speak about your day, and the pressure of that is way too much for me. I don't know how people do it and think they can get away with it. Okay, sorry, I'm interrupting loads this week. So he's suspended from work, and she said all of his life was a lie. I also then found out he had been talking to a girl I went to school with on the dating app while swearing he'd never use it. I started to doubt everything, so snooped his Insta followers, and they were all women, single women. My heart sank. I ignored him and blocked him, and over the next 2 months he contacted me through every possible medium, even Pinterest. You know shit's getting desperate when you message somebody on Pinterest. I didn't even know that was a thing. He begged me to speak to him but would never talk on the phone, and he would say, sorry I did X, but it's your fault because you get cross, or it's your fault because you don't understand me. Okay, this is like the main thing, that if an ex contacts you and they're not taking accountability and you know they want to make changes, then it's just not worth it, because somebody saying I'm sorry but is not an apology. It's just as simple as that. I also hate the I'm sorry you feel that way but. Like, if you've done something wrong, just take full accountability and say, I'm sorry, this was rubbish, I'm sorry I did that to you. Like, that's the first key sign in growth. There were so many lies, and each time he was caught, he'd say, we aren't compatible because of how you are, and then beg me to speak again once I stopped replying. This guy's an idiot. I held out for months, and he seemed genuinely remorseful, and I agreed to meet him again. I saw him one weekend, and he cried and said he was so relieved he got a second chance and that he loves me and we will get married, etc. 2 days later, he asked about seeing me again, and I said only if he doesn't have dating apps. He told me he feels smothered by me, doesn't enjoy my company and my mental health issues, and she said that he's never actually witnessed, and said they were a big problem for him. I tried to call as I was blindsided, and he said, if you call, I will just turn off my phone. I am just a selfish guy. So now I feel lost. I feel like love doesn't really exist and that I cannot trust anyone, but I'm glad to be rid of that sorry excuse from man. Please tell me it gets better. Thank you. I'm sorry. The way you think love doesn't exist because of this person, this is not love. This is a man that's going through his own issues, and it's got nothing to do with you, how he's acting. Like, it's nothing that you could have or should have done differently. And this is him, and he's going to be the same until he changes, and it's just not love. So I think it's so sad when something bad happens with people and and they feel like that basically, because usually I feel like we get stories and they're out the other side, you get me? So it's like, usually you'd get that story and then they say, but I've been single 6 months now and I'm super happy. Or they say, a month ago I met my new boyfriend, or I met my husband, and whatever. And I think when you get a message like that, it's extra sad because like you're literally in the trenches. But I am the biggest believer in love, and I think the concept that people only love once and, you know, one time, it's just not true. It's just not true, because we have the ability to love over and over again. Even if you look at kids and friends, like you can love a child, right? Not that I'm a parent, but I am an auntie. You can love a child so much. When my first nephew was born, oh my God, it was like the greatest day of my life. I just adored him. I was back in Wales. I pretty much helped raise him. I just, oh my God, absolutely loved him. That doesn't mean to say that I could never love a child like that again, because when my sister had our second nephew, the love was exactly the same, if not more, because now I was an auntie of two and now I could see them as brothers, and it was like a different feeling of love. And I think even though that's not romantic, you have to use that as an example, because it just shows that you're capable of loving one person and being used to that one person, that one thing, for like 4 years. My nephew was, before my other nephew was born. So random that I'm using this as an example. But I just think it's sometimes helpful to take it away from a romantic relationship to show that it's possible to love again. And obviously you have more special loves than others. Like I've had however many boyfriends and I've loved them all, but there's always been some that I've loved a lot more. Like I absolutely get that. But the thing is, if you were happy in that relationship the whole time, and the story was, or anybody's story, if the story is, I was so happy and, you know, it's just unfortunate that this one thing happened, then yeah, fair enough, you're going to feel like that because there's still a lot of love there. But that, what I just read out, that is not love. That is a really bad time and a very traumatic experience, and you're going to get over that, like we all get over certain things, and eventually you'll find love. I feel like I'm explaining this rubbish, but it just makes me sad if people say that they don't believe in love just because of one person in the world has behaved like that and treated you like that. Should not affect love, like should not affect how you think about love, because all you've got to do is look at your life and the love that you have in your life with your family, your friends. Love. What's that Love Actually quote? Hang on, I'm going to Google it because I want to make sure it's right. I mean, obviously I have no clue. I'm not an expert, but I do know that people can love again. Basically, this sound goes all around on TikTok now. And this is it. And he says, if you look for it, I've got a sneaky feeling you'll find that love actually is all around. The fact I'm going this cheesy today. But it is. And I think if anyone's feeling, you know, like love doesn't exist and you're never going to feel it again, you've literally just got to look at the love that's already in your life, and that comes in with friends, and you can meet new friends and love new friends, so you'll definitely meet another guy and fall in love with him, but just take your time to get over it. I think that is the biggest thing, and that's obviously what Tom is not doing. And look at the situation he's getting himself into. Man needs to go to AA immediately, if not sooner. Wow, I've been talking for a long time. Sorry, guys. Sometimes I sit down and I'm like, what have I just been speaking about? But yeah, hopefully all okay. Please come and follow me. If you're listening on Spotify, then please leave me a review and follow me on Spotify. Remember, we grew like 800% last year, so it'd be really good if we could do the same thing again this year. Because you know that I love it. Oh my God, I have to tell you. I have forgotten to tell you this story for the last, I don't know, it was before Christmas it happened to me, and I've just forgotten to tell you, right? So, it's Christmas break. It's the 20th of December to be exact. It's around 9 a.m. in the morning, okay? So I'm lying in bed. It's 9 a.m. in the morning, which is an important factor, I think, right? So I'm lying there just rotting, basically. Just rotting in bed pre-Christmas break, yeah? And I'm on my phone, and this message comes through from a guy, and I recognise the name, but I didn't know how I recognised it. So this isn't somebody super familiar to me. It's just somebody that I knew I'd met at one point on Facebook, but I couldn't picture him and I couldn't picture where I'd met him. And they all come through one by one, right? So the first one says, "Hey Sadie." And I'm like, oh, what's this now? Okay. Next one. "This may sound a bit random, but me and my girlfriend have an exhibitionist fetish and we like to send hot videos of us to strangers. We're feeling pretty horny right now and we're wondering if you'd like to watch us," with 2 wink faces. I was like, what the hell? I'm going to be completely honest. I was crying. I was just having a bad morning, right? And it just stopped me in my tracks. And I was like, what? Who even is this guy? And then obviously I'm on Facebook, so I think he can tell that I'm online, but I haven't opened his messages or responding. So then 3 minutes passes and he sends another message saying, "Obviously, if you don't feel comfortable, no problem." And I was just like, why on earth? One, it is 9 a.m. And for me, I'm just like, it's 9 a.m. on a Wednesday or something. I don't know what day the 20th of December was, but it's 9 a.m. on a Wednesday. Now, really? Like, what am I going to get out for at that time of day and in the morning? What am I going to get out for anyway? So anyway, I didn't respond, and then maybe 5 or 10 minutes later, I had phone notifications that he'd unsent all the messages. And then when I finally went on it, it's a guy I met once. I'm not going to say how, because then, I don't know, might give him away a little bit. I met him once in like 16 or something, like a long time ago. No message, just one message from that one night out. Haven't spoken to him since. Can't even remember the night. Can't ever even remember meeting him. Like, again, recognise his name and stuff. And I'm like, how? Obviously he's scrolling through his friends, and I don't think it's personal to me. But how and why do you think that I want to see that? Because I absolutely do not. That's what porn is for, and I don't need it from a guy I met out once with his girlfriend. How random, and how ballsy are people, because that's obviously worked for him, because I know that that's not their first rodeo. The fact that they've even labelled it as their fantasy, you know that people are replying to that. My friend was like, "You should have responded." She's like, "I don't even believe it." I was like, I definitely do, because what are they getting out of that if it was a joke? The risk of me, like, if I was a different type of person, I could actually name and shame him right now, but thankfully I'm not going to, thankfully for him. But yeah, my friend was like, "You should have said yes and got 8 videos." I was like, I can't think of much worse than seeing that. There's a lot more things I would rather see than him and his girlfriend and sex at 9 a.m. before Christmas as I'm in bed. It just wasn't for me. And also, luckily, I was working from home. Or was I working at that point? I can't remember. Wherever. I could have been like in the office, out and about, or even receiving explicit messages from people. I could have been sharing my phone to doing a presentation on Google Chromecast or something. Like, it's very risky to send that in working hours. But yeah, it made me laugh. Okay, I've got another email for us. And this is a dilemma. So the title says, "Bedroom Dilemma." "Hey Sadie, so I have a dilemma that I feel you can help with. You've never judged on her, but you've always given it straight, and that's what I need, as it's hardly a topic I can speak to my mum about, and usually sex convos are a normal thing with us." Okay. "So my boyfriend and I have an amazing sex life, in love and feel very safe with him. However, we have almost split in the past over him becoming insecure of a particular male friend. There are some double standards here, but not what today's message is about." Okay. Oh, it's juicy already. It's juicy. We worked through it and have been all good. We recently were having some fun time and we started giggling about our fantasies. His took me by total surprise as he said his was to have another man in bed with us. This is a fantasy after all the drama that nearly broke us. That is very interesting because you would have thought if that was his fantasy and he thought that you fancied his friend, then that would have ignited the conversation rather than it be angry. But I suppose it's very different having like a man in the bedroom or basically if you have a third person in the bedroom, it's very different having a stranger to a friend, isn't it? So there is that. The next night, his friend came over. Oh my God. We got a little too tipsy and snuck upstairs to be a little naughty. I'm sorry, right, I've got to stop you. His friend 100% knew, surely. Because, was it just him over? Imagine inviting your friend over and then the two of you going to have sex. I reckon he texted him beforehand and was like, look, I think my girlfriend likes you. I'm into it. Do you want to come over and see what happens? That's my thoughts on it. Okay, so we snuck upstairs to be a little naughty. Whilst we were up there, he brought it up that we could get his friend to join in, but only if I wanted to. I never gave a straight answer, but I did a dirty talk about it, and to be honest, it was a turn-on. Offs. It was honestly the most mind-blowing sex I've had in my life. After going back down to be sociable for a bit, we went to bed. Oh wait, his friend didn't come up. Okay, so they just spoke about it. They spoke about it whilst his friend was downstairs. So ignore what I said, that clearly wasn't the case. It might have been though, it might have been, you never know. Anyway, that's irrelevant. So they spoke about the fantasy whilst the friend was downstairs, and that was obviously enough to make him have mind-blowing sex. After going back down to be sociable for a bit, we went to bed. His friend was asleep on the sofa. And we went all night long. She said that like all, full stop, night, full stop, long, full stop. That night made us both feel so much more connected in ways I've never had before. I love that. I do think that it's very nice. I think, right, the like fantasies are very scary to talk about because if the other person doesn't like it, then you're at a big risk of messing something up. But I think most people have like dark fantasies. Do you remember that episode I did on fantasies? Oh my God, I'm going to have to link it below because if you haven't listened to it, please go and listen. It's so good. We had some wild fantasies. And I was listening to a podcast on one and one was crazy. Like one of them literally liked, are they called, I think it's paraplegics. One of them specifically liked paraplegics. It got like real dark, real fast for some of them. And yeah, it's risky. It's like a really risky move. But I think if you say it to somebody and they've got the same one as you, then it can be the best thing ever. I'm listening to, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. I'm listening to a book. So basically, I listened to the Love expert. His name's Alan de Botton on Diary of CEO. Loved the episode and loved him talking. So I downloaded his book called Connections in Love. No. Thank God I checked that. It's called The Course of Love. I basically downloaded it because I thought it'd been narrated by him as an audiobook. It's not. It's narrated by somebody else. I was very disappointed. However, the book's very good. Anyway, they talk about fantasies and it's this married couple, is fictional. And every time before they have sex, they make up stories. So they make up stories like one of them was a pilot and like random, like, what do they call them? Role play stories. They don't act it out, but they say it to each other. And so they do this all the time, right? And they have all these mad fantasies and, you know, role plays. And then they go for dinner in this cafe and there's a girl there, a graduate that the wife knows. And basically, next time in bed, he's fantasizing about her and he brings it up and she takes a massive turn. And rather than saying what was really going on in her mind, which was that it's really weird because she's young and she's known the girl since she's even younger, and it was really bad to her, she doesn't say anything. And then it's basically saying how when you don't talk about something, it just like tears you apart because none of them are speaking about how it bothered her so much. And yeah, all their fantasies go well. And then he says this one, and it's taking a turn, and I don't know what's happened because I'm still in the middle of listening to it, but at the minute they're not talking. So yeah, it's very risky, but obviously for them it worked. Right, sorry. The problem is, since then, he has hinted at actually doing the watch another guy F me thing. I don't know why I'm trying to be reserved today, but I don't feel like swearing today. Maybe that's going to be a New Year's resolution for me. Who knows? Stay tuned. Okay, so the boyfriend now wants to watch another guy F his girlfriend. In his dirty talk, there were aspects he would join in with us, otherwise it would just be watching. So a cross between a threesome and watching, I guess. Sex has always been an intimate thing for me. I need to have an emotional connection with someone to have it. I've had a friend with benefits in the past, but still, he was like a best friend. I'm conflicted because the talk of it turned me on, but I'm not sure I could actually go through with it. Do you think it's worth talking further about it, potentially setting boundaries, like I wouldn't want it to be in our bed, as it's our safe place for me and you? And also, the thought of seeing him with another girl makes me sick to my stomach. So would he expect the same back? Would he look at me differently afterwards with less respect? He was insecure about just a friend before, but that was protectiveness and your own mine mentality. And that was an attractive trait despite the insecurity. Why is this different? Anyway, a long one I know, but any insight or thoughts, if you know anyone who's done it or fantasized about it, would be great. Because I don't think I could look my nearest and dearest in the eye at any gatherings with them knowing we have had a dirty threesome. I don't know anyone who's done it, but let's be honest, would they tell me? No. Would my friend turn around and tell me? Probably not, because this is a fantasy that is it's unknown still. But in that fantasy episode, actually, there were two of these. We had two through where the guy had this fantasy. So it's really like not that rare, but I think it's harder to understand because jealousy is like a very big thing, innit? And cheating is a very big thing. So like if your boyfriend, on paper, if your boyfriend catches you speaking to somebody else or flirting with a guy, then they fall out with you over it and vice versa. So this obviously like touches upon that. However, it's very different to cheating because you're both in control. So that's the first thing, that you've got to try and take it out, I think, of the last argument, because that was obviously a different issue. And I think the issue there is that his friend as well. Like, quote me if I'm wrong, but I don't think anybody wants to watch their partner sleep with a friend. Like, that's a bit weird. It's a double betrayal. It can open up a phase, worries after, because you're in each other's lives. It's just a bit weird. So I don't think you can compare it to that because it's a separate thing. I think if he's saying it's his fantasy, he must be pretty sure that he can handle it, because you don't go out with that fantasy unless you're thinking, I can do this. Like, I wouldn't go up to somebody and say, I want to be suspended from the ceiling, unless I was prepared for that to happen, and unless I was prepared, you know, for the fall and the health risks that might come with that. Like, do you know what I mean? I think by the time you're telling your partner about the fantasy, then you're already in, you're already thinking about it, and you're just a hop, skip and a jump away from trying it. So I think, is that even still one point? I think basically you have to have trust that he can handle it. And also, if he can't, not really your problem, because essentially it's his idea, and yeah, you've both spoken about it, but it's kind of come from him. So I know you love him and you don't want to hurt his feelings and stuff, but that's up to him to decide. Not like, don't let his feelings affect your decision on it. Like, if you want to do it, then do it. Don't not do it because you're worried that your partner's going to get upset. Which sounds like very selfish advice for me, but I'm on about this, not relationship advice on the whole. He definitely wouldn't look at you differently with less respect. And if he did, he's an absolute arsehole. I was trying to think of a non-swearing equivalent then. I didn't get one. And that goes for anything. Like if your partner not talks you into doing something, but like wants you to do something, then you do it and he loses respect for you, that's all on him. So I don't even think that's a thing. I also don't think the girl thing is a thing. You should definitely ask him and just say, look, this is a turn on for me, but it doesn't turn me on you going with another girl. So would you expect the same back? But I don't think he would, because that's a completely different thing. That's a different fantasy. Like, that's not his fantasy. His fantasy is seeing somebody sleep with you. So I wouldn't worry about that. And I also think you would just be so excited after that, like, that one thing would keep you going for ages anyway. I'm sure, like you said, if you had amazing sex just from talking about it, then imagine, like, when it actually happens. So I think the biggest thing is, and for any conversation with sex, you have to be open and honest, because bottling stuff up and not talking about stuff is just like the biggest recipe for disaster. And it's interesting when I'm reading that book how easy it happens, because you don't want to come across a certain way, and sometimes you don't want to talk about what's going on in your mind. But if you're done and you just go along with something, like if my partner said to me, I want you to go and, I don't know, go and sleep with the girl, and I really didn't want to do that, but rather than tell him, I either just don't go and do it, or I go and do it, either way, and then I don't tell him, it's doomed. Because then you harbouring resentment, you've got all this stuff going on in your mind, you jump into conclusions and you're coming up with your own answers for stuff. It's just bad. So I think always you need to have an open and honest conversation. Set your boundaries. I think it's absolutely fine that you don't want to do it in your bed. And I think the biggest thing with that is picking the right guy. Because if you're not a type of person that can have one night stands, which you're obviously not, then that, I think, is the hardest thing. You need to make sure you pick a guy that is going to make you feel safe, a guy that you like. So I don't know how you go about that. Do you have to date them? Like, is that allowed? Not dating, but like, you know, do you go out with them a couple of times? How do you find them? I don't know. Dating apps, maybe. Maybe you could be out and with your boyfriend and you look over and you see a guy that you think is hot, and then you can talk to your boyfriend about it. Maybe that's like a nice thing, because it's kind of together, and then if you're speaking to the guy, your boyfriend's there. But obviously I'm acting as if like every guy out in the bar is going to be willing to do this. I mean, to be fair, they probably aren't, they? Let's be honest. But I do think when you're out, it's hard, because is a guy really going to be looking over at you when you sat there with your boyfriend? I don't know about that part. But yeah, I think that's the hardest thing, is picking the guy. So, and I don't know. This is where it gets blurred, because from a girl's point of view, generally speaking, then, or at least I'm going from me, right? If I had to go now, gun to my head, and if I had to go and sleep with somebody right here, right now, I would 9 times out of 10 choose somebody I'd already been with than go out and find a stranger. Like, if I had to have sex with somebody in the next 30 minutes, would I go out to somebody hot on the street, or would I go for somebody that I'd already been with? Definitely somebody I'd already been with, because you know they're safe. I think it's different when you're a girl. Like, you've got to know they're safe. You've got to feel comfy in front of them. Like, for me, I have to know that they're a nice person and that they're a good person, and I have to like them. And I know some guys is a bit different. And for some girls, obviously we have girls that, you know, only like to have sex with strangers, and that's all well and good. But generally, I think that's where the disconnect comes with like man versus woman, because men more generally can just go and sleep with a stranger, and girls tend to, am I right in saying this, guys? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because I don't want to speak for everyone. Because I know it's not the case, because obviously like plenty of people have one night stands, so I know that's a thing. But I do think generally, in my experience and my opinion, that girls sleep with somebody after, you know, Well, at least she does anyway. She literally said she needs like an emotional connection with them. So I think all well and good, and I think why not? Especially if you're in a long-term relationship, guys, you got to keep it going. Like, I would rather my boyfriend or my partner, wherever, and this goes for friends as well. Like, if you're in a long-term relationship with a friend even, I do think sometimes it's hard because as you change, as you go older, like if you've been friends with somebody since you're young and then you never used to be into, I don't know, pool. So random has come to my head. When you were younger, and then as you get older, you get into it, or like self-help and stuff. Then, you know, when you change, it's like a test of the relationship if your friend's willing to accept you and move forward, or if they like, oh my God, she's changed, I can't deal with that anymore. And it's the same like in partners, like we human, obviously we change and, you know, we get bored of things, we want to try new things. I'd much rather my partner come to me and say to me, oh, do you know what? I've been thinking about this and I think it's hot. Rather than watching porn on it behind my back and thinking, oh God, I can't tell her, she's never going to want to do that, and then going and doing it behind my back. Like, that's so much worse. So I think it's a good thing. You got to keep it exciting, being honest, and yeah, you just got to make sure it's right. I think she obviously wants to, like, because you've already spoken about it and it's got you like turned on and stuff. So she obviously wants to. I think the biggest issue is finding the right person, and don't just go with anybody just to make your boyfriend happy, because then you're going to end up resenting him. And again, that goes for everything. Like, if your boyfriend wants you to do something or your partner wants you to do something, you have to make sure it's right for you, because otherwise the same thing's going to happen. You're going to have bad feelings about it, you're going to resent them. But yeah, exciting. So guys, please let us know your thoughts on this, or if you've done anything similar. If you've got a similar story, please send it in, and then if it's a success story or whatever, hopefully it is, then we can read it out next week, so I think that'll be really helpful. And yeah, if you've got any more stories, guys, please send them in to sadie@lovewhatluck.com. the address is down below, or DM me on the @lovewhatluck Insta. And if you like an episode, or you see a reel that you like, I'm not going to posted one in a while, but I'm going to, then yeah, please share it, because it helps the podcast get out. Sorry, my camera battery went. It helps the podcast get out, and obviously helps us get more stories. Right, I feel like I've chatted for a really long time this week, so if you've stayed until the end, thank you. And yeah, please remember to subscribe, and I'll speak to you next week. Thanks.